Our next speaker, Dr. Tiffany Varughese, and she is the medical director of Thoracic Oncology at AstraZeneca. Let's welcome her.
Hi, everyone. I know this is the final presentation of today's day, saving the best for last, I hope. So I hope everyone's energized and excited. So my name is Tiffany Varughese. I work at AstraZeneca in U.S. Medical Affairs, and I focus on small cell lung cancer. So today has just been a phenomenal day, meeting a lot of you guys, hearing your stories, and also just hearing your thought-provoking questions. It's been incredible, just the amount of knowledge, experience, and encounters that you've had. So thank you, Dusty and Lynn, for inviting me. It's really been a pleasure. Okay, so today's presentation, it's really going to be around AstraZeneca's bold ambition, the unmet need in small cell lung cancer, our clinical pipeline, and what we do beyond clinical trials. So at AstraZeneca, our bold ambition is to eliminate lung cancer as a cause of death. By 2030, we will treat nearly 4 million patients, deliver 20+ indications across all stages of disease, and lead a revolution to make cure possible. So yeah, we're a pretty bold company. So how are we gonna achieve this? It's through 4 different ways, which is early detection, early treatment, monitoring, and adaptive interventions, and optimizing current clinical outcomes. So for early detection, it's by implementing low-dose CT screening in high-risk individuals and implementing a robust IPN management. And as we all learned today, for small cell, the nature of the disease is so aggressive that these patients get missed with the low-dose CT, so there's a lot more work that needs to be done. Early treatment, it's around earlier targeted treatment of lung cancer with targeted therapies. The third is identifying the risk of relapse and targeting resistance. And the fourth is making sure that we are optimizing the current clinical practices to extend survival beyond standard of care and improving the quality of life of patients. So lung cancer, as you all know, and I feel silly even sharing the next 2 slides because I do think you guys are all experts in small cell, but lung cancer is one of the most common causes of cancer death in the US, and it's one of the most common cancers diagnosed. There are around 12% of all new cases every year and 21% of all lung cancer deaths. So most cases of small cell are diagnosed in advanced stages, which contribute to a poor diagnosis. So I think it was referred to as the lesser known cousin. So yes, small cell is the lesser known cousin, and there is another type of lung cancer called non-small cell, which is way more prevalent. So the way that I think about these is how the cancer presents. So there's limited stage and there's extensive stage small cell lung cancer. So to think about small cell lung cancer, it looks differently compared to non-small cell lung cancer. It progresses differently, and the way that it's located in your body is different as well. So limited stage, it's confined to one part of the chest and can be confined to a single radiation port. Whereas extensive stage, it's spread to different parts of the lung and to different parts of the body, such as the brain. And what you can see on this pie graph is that most patients are diagnosed in extensive stage small cell lung cancer. And 20% is diagnosed in limited stage small cell lung cancer. So there's a lot of work that we need to do to find these patients quickly, diagnose quickly, and treat quickly. Because as we all know, in limited stage, there is a chance of curative intent. So AstraZeneca prioritizes research in all stages of disease. I kind of touched on this, but it's really through early disease, target tumor mechanisms, and most importantly is the patient-centered approach. So we really believe in improving outcomes for patients as well as keeping quality of life top of mind. So this is our clinical development strategy in small cell. So there's limited stage small cell lung cancer and there's extensive stage small cell lung cancer. So in limited stage, we have Adriatic, and then in extensive stage, we have Caspian, Baltic, and Luminance. So these are our scientific pillars, which I'm sure you've heard the acronyms of IO, TDR, ADC, DDR. It's like alphabet soup. I know when I first joined AZ, I thought the same thing, but these are just drug classes. So some notable drug classes are durvalumab, so Imfinzi is the most common IO. For TDR, we have osimertinib, which is Tagrisso, very commonly known in lung cancer. Okay, so moving on to limited stage small cell lung cancer. So we have Adriatic. This is not FDA approved. It's a phase 3 randomized double-blind placebo-controlled multi-center study. I believe Dr. Lovely brought it up earlier today. So we did have a press release April 5th about it. And essentially it's a trial around consolidation treatment in limited stage small cell lung cancer for patients who have stage 1 to 3 early stage small cell who have not progressed following the current standard of care, which is concurrent CRT. So then these patients, I believe there was 730 patients enrolled in this study, and then from there, these patients are randomized into 3 different groups. So they receive Durva alone, they receive Durva plus tremelimumab, and the third group is placebo. So then from there, the patients continue on this regimen for 2 years or until clinical progression or adverse events. And the primary endpoint is PFS and OS in the Durva alone arm. So for extensive stage, we have Caspian, and this trial led to the FDA approval of durvalumab plus etoposide in first-line extensive stage small cell lung cancer. This was a phase 3 open-label randomized multi-center study. It involved treatment-naive patients with extensive stage, and we enrolled around 1,000 patients. So these patients were randomized into 3 arms, and the 3 arms are Durva plus Tremi, Durva alone, and etoposide. And the primary endpoint was overall survival. So earlier today, we learned that the 5-year OS for extensive stage is pretty low, and we were able to get 3-year OS data in a phase 3 randomized trial in Caspian, and at 3 years, 18% of patients were alive in the Durva plus chemo arm compared to 6% of patients in the chemotherapy arm. And you can see from the hazard ratio, about 29, there was a reduction of risk in death by 29% in the patients with the Durva plus chemo arm compared to the chemotherapy arm alone. We also have another study called Baltic. So this is extensive stage as well, but this is for patients who have progressed within 90 days of completing platinum-based chemotherapy. There are 3 arms as well, which includes Durva plus Tremi, adagrasib plus carboplatin, and ceralasertib plus olaparib. And the primary endpoint is ORR. And this is a signal-searching study. So Luminance, this is a phase 3B single-arm non-randomized trial. This is not FDA approved either, and this kind of complements Caspian. So the reason this study was started was because it enrolled patients with a performance status of 2, and it allowed for up to 6 cycles of chemotherapy in the Durva plus chemotherapy arm, whereas in Caspian it was just up to 4 cycles. And the primary endpoint was grade 3 adverse events and IMAEs. Okay, so this is not my presentation. I think this was round version 1. So there are no additional slides, but I definitely want to talk a little bit more about what we do outside of trials. So sorry about that. Let's see. So I know we spent like 10, 15 minutes talking about our clinical trial development strategy, but there is a lot that we do at AstraZeneca, kind of beyond the lab and beyond our trials. So the first thing I'd like to highlight is we've partnered with ACCC to create a patient survey. And the reason that we did this is because through our insights and what we hear, about 15 to 20% of patients don't receive first-line treatment. So from that, we learned, what we did is we partnered with this organization to create a survey to uncover and highlight barriers for patients with small cell lung cancer to make sure that we optimize care and improve patient outcomes. And some of the key insights that we learned was covered today, which is the struggles of accessing clinical trials, the delays in referral to certain multidisciplinary teams, the concerns around cost, and also the areas of concern around what to do for earlier detection of small cell when cure is possible. And someone raised a question today, why is IO not an option in limited stage? So because of this, we did create a toolkit which you can access online. I'll try to send the link or share it with Dusty. So there's a published paper and there's a toolkit of resources for patients on how to kind of tackle this disease, treatments available, and it's just a great place to start when you're diagnosed with a new disease. We also partnered with NCCN to help improve outcomes and standardize guideline concordant care. And the reason we did that is because through our insights, we realized not all patients receive standard of care, which is IO plus chemo. So what we did is we partnered with the NCCN, which was referenced a few times today. And through our research, and through our funding, we were able to support their research of standardizing small cell care delivery, as well as supporting their interventions for multidisciplinary guideline concordant care in small cell. And then last but not least, we also learned that about 20% of all small cell lung cancer patients are diagnosed in an inpatient hospital setting, and hospitalists may not always know how to treat a small cell patient because there are tons of cancers that they see, and we know that small cell is 13% of lung cancer, but compared to all the other cancers, it's even smaller. So there's a little bit more education that needs to be done. So from that, we created sort of a toolkit and a checklist to prepare hospitalists to have better conversations with patients and help prepare them when diagnosing and working up a new small cell patient. And we added a patient component to that as well to help them articulate, what are some potential questions to ask, how to find more information around small cell, and how to deal with a new diagnosis. Okay, so thank you for your time. Sorry about the slides. If you have any questions, please let me know.
And I actually have a question. So it looks like you guys are doing a lot of great things. That's awesome. And I've done some talks. I usually like to use the acronym, or the example of the Hamilton song. No one else was in the room where it happened. And so, how do you get the patient voice included? Because it's so important that you have patients and caregivers, because it impacts no one else except the patient and the caregiver throughout the whole cycle of developing a clinical trial, all of your research. So how do you get the patient involved in the development? Like I know you said through one of the surveys you did, you got the patient voice. So how do you get patients involved, as we have some advocates here involved in your work?
Yeah, good question. It's through events like this where we hear insights, we meet patients, we hear their concerns, and there are other folks from AstraZeneca here as well that help sponsor patient-related activities. We do have a function that's completely focused on patients to raise advocacy, to hear their concerns. So it's really just reaching out to one of us and seeing what we can do at AstraZeneca to support you throughout your small cell journey, because it kind of raises awareness to patients that are not able to attend these events as well.
Anybody else have a question? Mita?
Sorry to disappoint.
Oh, okay.
Almost too much information, but today's going to be fantastic.
Okay.
Awesome.
Anyone else have any more questions? Okay. All right then. Well, thank you so much, Tiffany.